Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is June 14, 2024, and this is the Daily AI Show Live, and we come to you every single weekday. I don't think we've missed one yet in the last 225 episodes. Hard to believe that we were just talking about getting to episode 200, and now we're a quarter of the way to 300, but that's the way it goes when you're on here 5 days a week as we are. So today we have Beth, Andy, and I'm Brian, and what we're talking about today is actually a recent, they call it a glow up. So that's what we've been saying as well. But Canva just had sort of their big presentation, their sort of, Apple WWDC, their version of that. I don't know what better name for that is. It's their presentation, their annual presentation. And so, of course, they were talking about their newest features. And to nobody's surprise, that was also about AI. Now, I've been using Canva pretty consistently, I would say, since we started the show. You try to go as we all three of us know, we'll kind of share with the audience here, figuring out how to start a podcast, or tell us that we didn't really think of it as a podcast. This just was a live daily show. And now I think of it as a video podcast more so now over the months. But you're like everybody, there's not like I'm sure there is, but they're like, we didn't have like a podcast in a box. It's not like, go use this tool for this and go use this tool for that. And also because not only are we talking about AI, but because AI is moving so fast, it's also like, well, what AI tool is going to give me the most competitive advantage? And so I think that's a very real thing we feel, right? When we're doing this, from doing the show topics to Beth, you looking into the analytics, to June, me doing the production side and making sure we have, after our live videos, we have a slightly more edited version of it. And that's what goes out on, YouTube later on down the road. And it goes to TikTok and Spotify. And then now we just started a newsletter. By the way, we have a newsletter. And our second edition of that comes out on Sunday. So you can go to the dailyaishow.com if you want to sign up for that newsletter and see what we're doing. Basically, it's to give you more than what you can get out of these live shows. So it's an add-on, if you will. Awesome. Thank you, Beth. For putting that on there. So, look, there's just a lot of pieces and parts. I don't know why I necessarily went to Canva, but I went to Canva to start working on our thumbnails. I will be the first person to say, I struggle with thumbnails. I struggle with our thumbnails. I do not think I'm the best person. When we make a lot of money on this show someday or something like that, I will gladly give that over to somebody who can do it better. But thank God, there are these AI tools now to help me get farther than I ever could have 2 years ago. Because I would have been in a upper river if I was trying to create net new images and having to use some stock photo, because that's what I would have been doing, right? I would have been like, here's some stock photo, and let me try to mesh that, and now let me overlay this picture of me or Beth looking excited, because God knows we know every single thumbnail on YouTube is. And that's you can only see if you're looking at it. So go watch the show if you're listening. But that's making a shocked face pointing at something. And look, we do it too because it gets clicks. It is what it is, right? So I want to get into what I've been loving about Canva. And honestly, what's cool about them to me is that they keep giving more tools to the creator. And I think that's what's super cool about it. It's enabling somebody like me, who I would not consider myself a creator. I don't have a when it comes to art and things like that I don't necessarily have those bones. My daughter and my wife do. I don't necessarily. So I struggle there. And so having something like Canva that can kind of help me get from poor to okay or good. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm great at it, but it's nice, it's nice to have those tools. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. I mean, before we jump in and I share the screen and stuff like that, Beth or Andy, are you guys have you been sort of watching what Canva has been doing as far as their really recent announcements, or did you use it in the past and recently used it or anything like that?
Yeah. Canva is used by my wife and her collaborators for years now. And they're actually in the middle of a major project where they're building an Oracle deck that's associated with equine facilitated learning. And it's going to be an amazing addition to the suite of things that are visible for that nonprofit equine, consensual equine therapeutic program that she is the executive director of. You can see that at horseandheart.org. So all of the website and all the graphic design on that one has been done within Canva.
Nice.
And then in addition, so she's working on this 55 card Oracle deck with an artist who is, doing hand-drawn art, but then also uses Canva, and all of this is being produced in Canva. So not only is the graphic art that she produces put into Canva first, then all of the text that is, generated by Lori, because she's the author of this, the book that goes along with the cards, right? If you're not familiar with Oracle cards, it's kind of like a tarot deck, but it doesn't have to be mystical. It's really just sort of inspirational art and commentary around a certain theme. Anyway, so Lori is using this currently, like literally hours every day, and she's using the magicwrite function within it to just give her sort of possible alternatives to phrasings and so on right on the deck. In this immense array of these 55 cards plus multiple cards after it. So I can comment on some of the things that she told me in an interview I had just this morning with her about her use of Canva. But that's just the background of how we're using Canva here. I've used the bulk create tool within that, which is a really excellent thing for creators. So I can comment on my own use of that to move content from a spreadsheet format into designs within Canva.
Yeah, I love that bulk create. A lot of people don't realize that it exists, but that's a very cool feature and can get you from like 0 to 60 pretty quickly, which is super, super cool. What about you, Beth? Do you currently use Canva or?
I use Canva. So I'm somebody who used to use Photoshop. I still have Photoshop. Then I went to GIMP because Photoshop was just way too expensive. So I've had a love-hate relationship with Canva for quite some time because I want the things that you can find in the other programs. I want them to be in reasonable places. And I love, it doesn't have anything to do with AI, but my favorite thing is the contextual menu that happens now. So if you click on an image, the menu changes and there's a crop button right there. So you don't have to hunt for the crop button. You don't have to do it in any kind of weird way about like, now you need to know the dimensions you're cropping to. No, this gives you, yes, I may have celebrated out loud last night while I was prepping for the show that the crop button came. But I think that they've made some really interesting choices moving forward that will help people who have a more design background to also use this tool. Because, we're partnering with people who don't have a design background. So we want to be able to like work with each other on the tools. Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys both said. And, funny enough, when my wife we were helping her prepare she's doing it live right now, actually, her presentation for dietetics and AI and dietetics. I'm the one that said, oh, you know what? I've used Beautiful in the past. I think it'll help you. And honestly, I think that was a miss. Nothing against Beautiful.AI. I mean, if you looked at her slide deck, it is beautiful. It fits the bill. But what I was expecting out of it was to give her a little bit more help with the framework. We had a good framework. And I was like, well, she said, look, like a lot of people, if I don't have to start from scratch, that would be great. And I was like, yeah, 100%. And that's really where AI fits the bill with a lot of things we talk about on this show is like it enables you not to have to start from a blank page. I always talk about this, but Sadish Nair, who was now the former CEO of ThoughtSpot, that's a data analytics company, he talked about that because they were doing sort of AI type things in semantic search and data analytics back in 2018 before we were all sort of talking about it. But that's exactly what they were doing was you would put in a sort of a human-like search pattern and it would build the graph in front of you from your data sources, the data lakes and things like that. And so anyway, the story goes, he was just talking about, I can't remember if he was talking to me personally or it was more of a personal thing. But I had interviewed him twice and he might have said it. He goes, but what we figured out was the blinking cursor on a blank page was the scariest thing for a human. And I thought, oh, that's like such a great observation, because initially that's what it was. It would just blink and be like, what do you want to do? You'd be like, I don't know. I mean, now that the world is available and I have all these AI tools, now I'm kind of like, I don't know where to start. And so they sort of corrected a little bit, and then they started showing examples, and they started showing like, well, you could go this path or you could go that path, almost like a YouTube recommendation, like, hey, here's what your friends are looking at. But in their case, they were like, here's what your coworkers are currently building. And I think Canva does a really good job of that when you get into the co-working space. I think, Andy, you sort of talked about it. But if you're working for a company where you have multiple people working on a project, I think it's really cool with their brand identity, what they have, when you can build a brand inside of Canva. And I don't do as much of that. I don't use Canva for scaled at the moment, at least. I only use it for the show. But I do think that's a very cool thing, is that people don't feel like they have to start from a blinking cursor on a blank page. They have somewhere to go. And for Canva, they call it magicwrite. So let me just go ahead and pull this up here. And I will tell you this too. I don't know how to share this, but anyway, if you go to canva.com and you go to like their what's new, you can just basically say, if you say try highlight or try magic animate or any of those, it will take you to this one deck. And this is genius by Canva, because it also makes it very easy for us for this show. You just click on any one of these slides at the bottom, and they're a different AI feature, and you can try it immediately on that slide. So let's go play a little bit. Okay, so we have I'm not going to start at this one. We have some really basic, easy ones like background remover. So we have a picture of an apple. It's sitting on a table. Looks like it's an orchard, and we can very quickly go to edit, and we can go BG remover, and it'll say ta-da, and that's it, right? It took out the background with no problem on it, and it does a very crisp apple. It's an apple, a crisp apple. It did a very crisp outline of it, where I think like a couple of years ago, this was really a limiting factor, is especially around an apple is not that hard, but around hair, now that I have flowing long hair, it's harder to crop around that, right? So it's hard to get those wisps and stuff like that. And I think AI is doing a better and better job of that. So background removal, not going to blow anybody's mind, but super cool, super easy. I really use this one all the time, which is magicgrab. So what we can do is we can click on it, again, edit image. And then if we go to magicgrab, now we get this sort of highlight. This is the same way it sort of works in both Meta now and Copilot. And it didn't used to work like this in Canva. This is an update. What would happen is it would literally just grab the thing you thought. You didn't really have a choice. But now I can actually hover over it. It'll sort of highlight it purple. It's like, okay, yep, I definitely want, in this case, the astronaut. I hit grab. And then essentially it's put that in another layer. And now I could take the astronaut and move him anywhere I want. And it filled in the background behind the image because, well, that didn't exist before that. The astronaut was blocking part of Earth, the horizon of Earth on there. So very cool. And I use this all the time. In fact, I can switch over to a different feed. And this is where I'm the kind of where I'm always playing and building our thumbnails. And so we're going to have a show next week that's going to be about AlphaFold 3, about DNA, about how AI is impacting that. And so I was looking for some sort of image that might convey it. Now, this is not the image we're going to use, but I want to use it as an example because right off the bat, this is one that I got from meta.ai. But Meta will only give me a square image, but I need a wider image to it. So one of the two things we can do here right off the bat that I use all the time is, number one, we can go ahead and expand this. So we have Magic Expand here on the side. And I just click on over here to 16:9 and I say Magic Expand. Now what it's going to do is it's going to give me 4 choices that I can kind of click through to see if any one of those will do for this. Now this is a lot of space on the left and right because we're going from square to it. And so what you'll see is that it's going to give me 4 choices. In this particular case, it's this really weird DNA blob looking, supposed to be protein DNA, not really what we got, but we have this sort of like weird blob thing on a science desk in a lab. And so basically we have a couple different options here. Some are better than others. Some make sort of filled in or whatever. I think maybe this first one is probably good enough. Again, for me, this is a thumbnail, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So if I say like, yep, that's the one I want, I hit done, and there you go. It's gone ahead and filled it in. Now, the next thing I can do is what we were just talking about, which is magic grab. We just did that with the astronaut. And as it loads up, now it's giving me some other options. I could grab a chair. I could grab, it looks like, I don't know what that is in the back, but our main center focus here is the actual DNA globule. And so we can grab that. And now let's say what I do a lot of times is I want to like left or right justify this particular image. So maybe it's a person or the main center thing. So now I can move it off to the side. And as you notice, now what it gives me the option to do is if I want to hide just a little bit of that AI. Now this is talking about Canva because it was for this show. It was the last thumbnail I did. Now I can kind of have a layer effect. And if I want to have just sort of a cool feel to it, I can hide or put the wording or the title in between the background and whatever else I magic grab.
Right.
Super helpful. And it definitely helps with things like thumbnails, because sometimes having something that's really important, you want to grab the eye being dead center, doesn't really work for a thumbnail. And so I might want to move it over here. And then maybe I'm going to take the background and I'm going to drop the transparency a little bit so that it really makes this pop. And I'm going to hide a little bit of this AI to show that it's behind this. And then boom, you have like sort of a better feel to it, you know? So little things like that. And then there's, let's see.
So before you move on, one of the things that I want to point out about what just happened was that was live, right?
Yeah,
so that's how long it took. That didn't, if you've done live demos ever, you know that there's like a 75% chance that it doesn't work. So this is really reliable.
Yes.
It also gave you, it didn't wait for all 4 images to be created. It gave you 1 image at a time. So you could start engaging with the first image, even if you were going to move to some of these others, because it's giving it to you one at a time. And that was really nice. Thanks, Brad.
I thought it was very creative that it added on one of those images a tray of lemons, which the lab. I'm not sure where they got that, but I liked it.
The background there.
Little colored flash there. It was nice.
Yeah.
A little acid with your protein DNA. Yeah.
The one thing you want in a good solid science lab is food. And specifically lemons. If I had to use this image as a banner image on, to your point, Andy, if your wife is doing a presentation, that magic expand may not get the job done. I've seen some really, really good ones where I'm like, oh my God, it actually created a whole like other side of a room or something. The trick that I use, instead of me going backwards here, is if I have a square image. Now, first of all, if I use ChatGPT, it'll give me a 16:9 image. So that solves that problem. But Meta doesn't, and Meta gives me 4 choices. So to your point, Beth, it's an efficiency speed thing. And so I can get 4 options really quick from Meta and be like, no, okay, that one will work. So I do tend to use this expand. What I'll do is, instead of just smacking it dead in the middle, I'll actually blow up the square, which takes away a little bit less. It's less that the AI has to do on the sides. And that tends to work for me. I didn't use it in this example, but that's what I would typically do, is use the square, blow it up a little bit, get 2 slivers on the side that are white that I need to fill in. And then I think, the less you're asking AI to guess and generate, the better off it ends up doing.
Right.
A couple other things that I think it does a really good job for. So we talked about Magic Eraser. No, we didn't. The Magic Eraser is exactly what you think it is. You can now we can get rid of these birds. And I will tell you.
So we're not seeing birds. We're still looking at
there you go.
Protein.
I forgot to switch them. So I just highlighted the birds again in purple. I will tell you, this is another update. It's a tiny thing, but what used to happen if you wanted to do magic erase, if I highlighted over this bird and stopped clicking my mouse, it immediately went to the magic erase. Now I can click several things in an image at once and get rid of them. So, and then you can see there's brush size here, right? So if I wanted to try to get rid of that phone, I could probably try to do that. You now have this new click, which is, so it's looking at, there you go. So if I was going to try to eliminate, well, here, we'll put the phone in there too and see what happens. It might be a little weird if the phone's gone. I'm not sure how it's going to fill in the guy, but let's give it a shot. Let's see how it does.
The claw.
Yeah, all right. So my fingered. Yeah. That was a big ask. That is, getting rid of birds. It did that perfectly. getting rid of an entire phone in front of somebody else and then having it redraw, that's a big ask for the AI. But that's okay. It did. I think for well, it's a little creepy. We'll go back. Can we go? Go back. All right, we can't go back. We're gonna move on. Resizing, I don't think we need to talk about that. The magicwrite, I don't use as much, but this would be in line with what you were just talking about, Andy, with your wife.
Yeah. So let me tell you what her critique of magicwrite is.
Yeah.
So unlike using ChatGPT, to generate text for you, magicwrite is pretty much point and click, and it's going to offer a palette of different ways that you can adjust the text, and not just visually, but the actual text content that's in there. So she has cards that are drawn by the artist, and then she's writing things about those topics that are the subject of that card. And so what she does is she drafts those entirely in her own style. But then she'll go to each of the elements that have text in them, and there's multiple blocks of that. And she'll click on it, and she clicks on magicwrite, and then she does this one thing that's called fairy dust or pixie dust or something.
Yep.
And when she clicks on that, it will offer, a modification to that text that is an elaboration or just different rephrasings and so on. And in order not to, make a mess of, her original thing, what she does is she first makes a very quick copy, and that's very easy in Canva. She just makes a duplicate of it, then she applies magicwrite to that. And she says that she'll often take just a phrase that came out of magicwrite, say, I like that one, and she'll then go back to her original and incorporate that in that way. But one of the things that she says that it does that has become irritating is that it will pick a term that it thinks is a term that's appropriate. And just like ChatGPT seems to overuse the word delve,
right?
magicwrite seems for her to overuse the word celestial. Wow. So not only will it insert a new text that's about celestial, but it'll use the word celestial twice in the same sentence.
Yeah.
So she just is like, not going to use that. So it's not really as competent, as she would like it to be, but it is as AI can be, a generator of alternatives and rephrasings that are useful as you're doing your draft and redrafting of content.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't know the answer to this, but it may be that you can provide magicwrite with samples of your style if you're a content generator, and then it'll kind of more faithfully reproduce your personal style. That ought to be a feature if it doesn't exist. It may already exist, and it may be just that my wife has not yet figured out how to do that. I'm going to go dig into Canva later today and see if I can find a way to correct the problem for her.
You want to go to your brand kit, and you want to set your brand voice. And then when you're magic writing, after it has been written for you, you can click it, and one of the options is apply brand voice. And if your wife has never used Celestial in the brand voice, we hope that it will not use that for her.
Yeah, Celestial. That's not even a delve. That's I feel very confident you're gonna love this word. Let me show it to you again, Celestial. What you basically said, Andy, is exactly what magicwrite does. It'll help you with the longer writing. In this particular instance, they're showing you an article title, and you want in this use case, you're looking for suggestions for a good article title. So what it says is like, okay, we have a picture of a penguin here, and it says use the prompt a newspaper article about dancing penguins. So we'll go ahead and do that. A newspaper article about dancing penguins, and we'll hit generate, and then it's going to come up and suggest newspaper article titles that would go for this particular slide. So we'll see what it gives us back.
It's examining many penguins in order to come up with this.
It is. That was oddly long for Canva.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
That's because I said you hadn't missed a free throw all game. I'm sorry.
It's what he gave us is dancing penguins, the joyful spectacle of nature's rhythmic wonders. I mean, it's a lot of words. There's a lot of syllables in there. But look, you could have it try again and stuff like that. But that's what it's giving you options for it. Again, it's the whole blank page thing. You don't have to just sit there. And to your point, Andy, I think what your wife described is definitely more how more people are going to use it, which is, I may not love this, but I might like that it started with a dancing penguins : and I might think, okay, I'm not going to say a joyful spectacle, rhythmic wonders. That's too much for me, at least my personal opinion. That's too much for a title. So I might say, oh, I don't know. I'm not going to say spectacle, but I could throw a different word in there. But if nothing else, it got me started, because the alternative was just insert title here, or insert blog, or the newspaper article title here, which is a lot harder to do. So to me, it's just an efficiency gain for sure on these type. And of course, you can keep working with it. magicwrite is actually really cool. You can shorten it. You can make it more fun. There's just sprinkle. Let's go ahead and sprinkle it with fairy dust and see what happens, Andy. I kind of feel like that has fairy dust on it already, but let's give it a chance here. See what happens.
Well, and at the bottom of that list, you can make a custom prompt, right? So you can really direct it.
Yeah, and that's what I started with. So we got dancing penguins, where nature's rhythmic wonders unfold in joyful spectacles. So it kind of mixed it around a little bit. It is definitely, I don't know, I like this better than the last one. So there you go. We're already moving in the right direction if I was going to be the one writing this. There's some other things in here, Magic Media, which is essentially you can create graphics. So I think that's really important. There's a bit of a, I don't like it as much as Meta or using ChatGPT at the moment. But if it keeps getting closer and closer to it probably is like a DALL-E 3. But anyway, my point is you can actually create media. So in this particular instance, they're saying go to the Elements tab over here. I love that it gives you all the directions. Then go to Generate Your Own, which is what we're doing here. And in this case, it's saying a gold leaf. And so we'll go ahead and hit Generate Image. And just as you would expect, you're going to get 4 options here for a gold leaf, and then I can immediately drag and drop that, if I like one of them, right into it. So let's see, we got 2 that are super close up. Let's see if we get one that has more of an outline to it. Here we go. This one would probably work pretty well. We'll smack that one right in the middle, and then obviously it's got a background on it. So now we can just go here and then just go background remover. There you go. We're able to put a gold leaf right on the front cover of this particular book. It's like a sort of a gold enameled book on a book cover, and we're able to add a leaf to it really quickly. So I think that's really cool. I haven't used this feature as much. I suppose I should try it to see if it's in line with Meta, but I'll be honest right now, I'm kind of starting with a Meta, but I would be more than happy to just start and stay in Canva the entire time, which would definitely be an efficiency.
Well, you've also said many times on the show that you are sort of tool agnostic, right? So this is like the third, Meta is the third or fourth generator that you use, because when something else, when something else, I want to
pay the continue feed for it, honestly. Yeah, I mean, truth be told. So here, I'll give anybody that's interested in this, best case scenario, I would pay for Midjourney, because I know I can create whatever I want with Midjourney. And look, we've all seen enough of the custom GPT, or we'll call them DALL-E 3, but the custom GPT images, and they have a certain style to them. I think Meta is similar, but also has its own style. Copilot Pro was the best. It gave me options, and it would give it to me in 16:9, and it did it fairly quickly. So I actually really loved it. And if I was willing to drop an additional $20 just for that feature, I would, because it was the best of all of them. ChatGPT I find to be very slow, and I don't like, if you remember early on, DALL-E 3 did give you 4 choices, but they nixed that within days. And I do hate that, because I do feel like DALL-E 3 inside of ChatGPT is the slowest of the options now. And I'm trying to iterate quickly, which I think any business can appreciate. And so I'm trying to move really, really quickly. So I don't know, maybe I will give Canva a try. I have to do 5 more shows for next week. So maybe it's a great opportunity, and I'll come back and talk about whether, it helps or not.
So along those lines, the thing that I thought was the most impactful, other than the crop button that is easier to find, thank you very much, is their video features and their video editing features.
Yeah.
So things like the script has the ability to make your, I think it's called studio sound, so that you can make it sound like you can tweak the audio. So if there's a bunch of background noise, it disappears. So Canva has now added that. They also can automatically find highlights. Yep, that's exactly what you just clicked. So what it seems to me is that all of these features that exist in the other tools, everybody's adding them. And Canva's, in my experience, is not necessarily like at the same level as a Descript that is dedicated to that. That's all that Descript does. But if you only want to pay for one tool, it can get you there, right? This is decent.
That's my takeaway too, Beth, is that if you want to become a content creator, you want to start a TikTok stream, you want to, generate, new graphic elements for your website, you want to do it yourself, this is an incredible toolbox. And it's easy to use. The usability of Canva, I think, is something that's quick to learn and easy to deploy. And it has maybe not the very best version of every one of these many, many tools, but they're going to be more than sufficient for generating content quickly and beautifully.
I 1,000% agree with both of you. And look, their trend is they're getting better faster. So I will say that whatever you're seeing today, like highlights, this is brand new. You're absolutely right, Beth. This is not, well, I haven't played enough with the Underlord on Descript yet. I generally don't love AI generated automated clips, although Junmi uses Opus Clip on the back end of the show. And that was, in his opinion, that's the best that's out there that we've personally used on the show. So Opus Clip, I guess for us, as far as the DOS crew, is like sort of the gold standard of what AI can do. And I agree, it doesn't look like that. But you know what? Again, like you said, Andy, if it gets you close, if it gives you a couple clips, I mean, nobody was thinking about Canva as a video tool a year ago.
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I may be wrong on that, but I don't think so. So the fact that they're even getting where they are now, and right off the bat, if I hover over anything on the left, it's showing me the clips that it created out of this longer video across the top. Could end up, for a video like this, could end up being really, really helpful for a 30-minute, whatever this ends up being, 40-minute show on Canva and clipping that. For our use case, probably not. But for a 3, 4, 5-minute video like this, where, they're trying to pull clips from a larger thing about a conference, sure, it may end up working perfectly for you.
And Albert is asking, how does it compare to Adobe Express? My answer to that is it's a cleaner interface. Has anybody used Adobe Express over here?
Wow. Yeah, so I wouldn't be the best to say.
I think it's a cleaner interface and therefore easier to use for beginners or for people who don't want to spend a ton of time creating, but just create something that looks good.
Yeah.
Adobe Express, right? Adobe Express is their like beginner version of Photoshop, but that's still, we're like miles ahead of what Canva was trying to do. I think I go back to what we said before. Canva can get you there. And if you don't know exactly what you want, but you have some ideas, Canva can really get you there.
Sure.
What is the price for Canva?
It's a good question. And here, I'll stop sharing on here just in case it pulls a bit.
I think it was 15. I paid for the year, so I think I paid $150.
Yeah. Lori's use of it is in the context of a nonprofit, and they offer a very nice package for any nonprofit or educational application. It's very inexpensive that way. I think we have 50 seats or something in the nonprofit version of it.
That's really nice.
And I'm trying to find the answer really quick of what I pay. I believe am I paying for Canva monthly? I typically pay on things monthly because honestly, we say this, I think this is good mostly for our audience. Unless you know. Now I think Canva you could pay annually and feel very, very good about it because there's so many different things you can use Canva for, from writing to slide generation to AI tools. I mean, there's so much as we just showed you. So I think I almost think maybe I'll do that, because I use it all the time. Mostly with AI tools, I think we recommended this before. It's maybe a little bit smarter in the early days to go month to month, even if you're going to pay a little bit more month to month, because I mean, how many could we talk about? We should do a show about the graveyard. How many AI tools are in the graveyard right now because OpenAI ruled over them, whatever the case was. And so you don't want to get stuck paying for something that was very, very forward thinking today, and in 4 months is in the graveyard because it now is something every tool can do. I mean, Canva is a good example. We just talked about it. They're pretty good, but they may end up being like great in the highlights and stuff like that. And if you've paid for a whole year of some other video editing tool, you're like, oh man, I was already using Canva. Now Canva can do the job, and I saw I'm stuck on this other tool. So, but I think Canva is I don't know. It's probably kind of a safe bet at this point because they're not going anywhere. Yeah, they're clearly growing. They're clearly putting, money, time, and effort into growing, and they know where the future of this is with the AI tools. The AI tools have gotten significantly better just this year, since January. So, I'm bullish on it. I think, as far as doing an honest review of Canva, hey, at least from my experience, I use it literally every week. And Beth, I think you called it out. I was showing you guys stuff live, which is really, really helpful. I mean, having a great AI tool that's slow doesn't really solve problems. You're looking for something that gets the job done, that visually looks or sounds the way you want it to, but gets you there with efficiency. I think that's what any business user is ultimately looking for.
Sorry, I had to just verify this, but I recalled that there's one other feature of Canva that we have to note here, which is our colleague Aaron Malloch lives in Perth, Australia, and Canva was founded in Perth, Australia.
That's true.
Perth is way on the western side of Australia. It's like as far across as going from New York to California, from Melbourne, Sydney, and the rest of the sort of the east coast of Australia. So Canva, you are placed in our hearts because of Aaron.
For sure.
It's true.
For sure. Yeah, he's talked about it a couple of times about saying it's a point of pride for Perth, as it should be. I mean, Canva is growing into a monster. I don't know that anybody saw them getting as big as they did a couple of years ago. I mean, they were an okay tool, but they were like a lot of other tools. And Beth, you said it. I believe it. I think Andy, your wife, might say the same thing, is that it is very intuitive. It's not hard to find your way around. It's very colorful. It's bright. It's poppy. If you watch their presentation, they were all in like Wiggles colors, which also is an Australian thing, but they're like super bold colors, and stuff like that. And like, that's just sort of their style and their branding. But when you go to Canva and they call it the glow up, I mean, you get it. You're like, yeah, no, this is a bright, inviting. There's no dark mode in Canva that I'm aware of.
There is. There is, but you have to go find it. Yeah.
Okay. Don't find it because get the colors. It should be bright. It should be poppy. So, all right.
So
go ahead.
One thing that I will say about Canva is that using Canva will not teach you to use other tools, right? So it's very Canva specific. If you use Adobe Express, you will then have a leg up to be able to use Photoshop, right?
Sure.
But if you are someone who is not interested in becoming like a really intense designer, but you'd like to be able to create things that look like, hey, you knew what you were doing. That's what Canva is for, and it's great at it.
I think it's a great call out. And Andy, you kind of said it with nonprofits. I'm glad to hear that they're working with nonprofits and giving good plans for that, because look, how many nonprofits have somebody who's either a volunteer or getting paid an okay wage at a nonprofit, and they are tasked with being the one woman man show for all media. all of it. And so you need a tool like a Canva that's going to help you be able to get as much as exposure and stuff as you can get out there, because there's a lot of people out there who are just a one-person show, So anyway, I think I'm really excited. I'm excited to see where they keep going with it. But hey, it's a really great tool. I'll continue using it weekly for the show. And yeah, I'm going to even test out the AI image generator, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it actually is pretty good. So all right, that's it for today, guys. That wraps up the week. Don't forget to go to dailyaishow.com. There you can find all our clips. You can also sign up for our brand new newsletter. The second edition of that will go out on Sunday, as we mentioned at the top of the show. It has all sorts of like great behind the scenes, it's like the water cooler talk. What are we talking about in Slack? Not everything makes this show. And believe it or not, even though we talk for 5 days a week, not everything makes the show. There's back room conversations that are happening. And we thought, we want to really share this with our audience. So if you're into that, if you want to know more, if you want to see behind the scenes a little bit and listen to what we're talking about as the seven of us at the AI water cooler, if you will, the newsletter is a great place for you to get that extra information, those little deeper dives into areas. So that's it. I hope everybody has a great weekend. We will be back on Monday. Like I said, I know one of the shows is good about DNA and all the cool things that are going with AlphaFold 3, and we'll have a lot of other topics to come on as well. So have a good one. Thanks, Beth. Thanks, Andy. And go try Canva. Bye.